Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary Ashton, and this is our Lucha Underground review. And guys, what an episode this was. I mean, at first I thought it was going to be like Gift of the Gods heavy, which in a way it was. We had two Aztec Medallion matches, both of which were quite good, especially the second one. But this was really more about the road to Ultima Lucha Trace, and it is a road with a lot of twists and turns, and my God, I'm loving every second of it. This show was a rarity because there wasn't a single cinematic, and yet I can't even really say that I'm that bothered by it as much as I adore them. Because, man, did all the segments here in their own way pack a wallop of a punch. I mean, god damn. But, partner, what did you think of tonight's episode?
Tonight was one of my favorite episodes of Lucha Underground, probably ever, if not at the very least in Season 3. I feel like this, even though we didn't have any cinematics, which is really weird, because normally the number of cinematics in a show is directly correlated with my enjoyment of the show, but there were no cinematics on this show, and I absolutely loved everything about it, despite that. It was episode 99 of Lucha Underground, which is freaking awesome. I love that we're already literally just a week away from episode 100, and I actually looked a little bit early, and the name of the 100th episode is literally just Cien, which is Spanish for 100. And yeah, we've got an absolutely stacked match card next week. Next week's show is going to be incredible as well. But this week we had one freaking incredible match and two pretty solid matches as well. But that 5-0 street fight is legitimately going to end up being one of my top 5 matches of the year, if not top 3.
Yeah, I can't wait for you to give, like, your full thoughts on this, because when we get to that match, I'm giving the reins to you completely, because I could tell, and you just explicitly said it, that you adored this match. And yeah, like, even some announcements made about Ultima Lucha Trace, especially in the main event segment, like, god damn, this really feels like an Ultima Lucha. Like, I love the first Ultima Lucha. Ultima Lucha Dos wasn't bad, but this feels like the very first Ultima Lucha all over again, if not even bigger, which is really saying something. I can't wait for Ultima Lucha Trace. But in the meantime, speaking of waiting, let's not prolong the wait any longer. Let's get right into our Lucha Underground review. And we open up again right with a match. The Mac versus Drago for an Aztec Medallion. And I've got to say, solid match. Great back and forth between these guys. But again, the Serpent Tribe, doing that great heel work. You have towards the end of the match, Cobra Moon getting on the apron, distracting the Mac. That allows Drago to ultimately set up the Dragon's Lair pinning combination, and he actually gets the win. So Drago, in this one season, even though narratively he's a more tragic character given his circumstances, on a material level, he's 1/3 of the Trios champions, and now he holds an Aztec Medallion. It's a good time to be Drago right now. I enjoyed the match. Mac's athleticism is insane, and I have to feel like I'm going to formally predict that by Season 5, no later, are we going to be talking about Mac as Lucha Underground champion, because the guy's just a freaking star. His look, the athleticism to back the look up, and the charisma, like, he checks all the boxes. Drago, despite the fact that I think he is an older competitor like Mil Muertes, also like Mil Muertes is a beast. And yeah, I thought this was a fun opener. What did you think of this?
Yeah, this was so good. I loved this match. Really, the Mac, he's just one of those guys, man, where you can just put him against anybody, and he will find a way to steal the show. And he didn't necessarily steal the show on this show because of how freaking incredible the next match was. But if it wasn't for that match being as great as it was, this would have been the best match on the show, which, I mean, it wasn't the main event, so that still says something. Yeah, I think that this was fun. This was a solid match. I love that Drago picked up the win here. I wasn't expecting that. I thought Mac would win for sure. I appreciate that Lucha Underground's going out of the way to cool Mac off, because they built him up and had him so hot for his feud with Johnny Mundo, and then he lost to Mundo, and now he's really been kind of getting cooled off ever since. Because even though he won I think 2 matches in the Cueto Cup. He didn't even make it, I don't think, to the quarterfinals. So it was just like, I think that they're handling the Mac in such a way that I think it sets a really good precedent and a really strong example for how main eventers should be portrayed. You should have, if someone's in the main event for a little while and they get their opportunity and they don't win the championship, they should get cooled off like this. I'm not saying you should bury them or make them look stupid or beat them at every corner, but they should be cooled off. I love how momentum based Lucha Underground is. And when Mac had momentum on his side, it felt like he could beat anyone. But when he lost to Johnny Mundo, it took the wind out of his sails, and he's been less consistently winning ever since. And I think that makes all the sense in the world. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you articulated it perfectly. If I'm not mistaken, I feel like Al Snow has had similar sentiments, like about like the cycle of a performer. Like they get to a certain level, and whether they achieve at that level or not, either they elevate or they relegate. And with Mac, what I love about his relegation too, because you said like you're not asking like for him to be buried or anything like that. And yeah, nobody's asking for that. And Lucha Underground isn't asking for that because I feel like, again, it's not like he lost his first Cueto Cup match. He did win his first one. I don't know if he won his second one or if he did, but regardless, like he didn't get totally punked out there. And then tonight they protected him because you had Cobra Moon with the distraction. So, I love that they're both cooling Mac off, but in a way to me that doesn't compromise his credibility so that when they turn up the heat again, not only will it be believable, but we'll care because he had this cool off period. So yeah, I definitely think Mac, he's in a good spot right now. It may not look it on the surface, but I think when you dig deeper like you and I have done, you see that I think he's still on a great trajectory to be that main event guy, to be a future world champion. Again, I'm calling my shot. I'm saying no later than season 5 is this guy going to hold the gold because he just checks every box. Unfortunately, though, his night did get a little rougher because he was pissed with how the match went down. So he gives a stunner to Drago to start, and then he's about to stun Cobra Moon, but then Pindar and Vibora come to make the save. They beat Mac down, which culminates in Vibora doing a sick choke slam. And I just got to say about Vibora very quickly, even though he was part of the tail end of the beatdown, just going to reiterate what I said on live reactions. I mean, his look, his ability, his everything, like he strikes me as the type of guy, if he was in the Attitude Era, like, Big Show and Undertaker and those guys, he'd be a multiple-time world champion. And even in this era, he still has all the makings, especially in a promotion like Lucha Underground, to be a multi-time champion. Hell, he could be a Triple Crown champion, I believe it. He's already 1/3 of the Trios champions. So, I think Vibora is going to have a very decorated future. He is a beast. So what do you think of the beatdown here?
Yeah, I mean, the beatdown was great because you really could tell as soon as Mac stunned Drago, I feel like the Serpent Tribe shot out of the freaking locker room, and they were out of there just in time to be able to stop Mac from hitting a stunner on Cobra Moon.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, the choke slam from Vibora was great.
And you know what, though? Like, because I know we didn't mention this in live reactions, and I don't know if it was, like, deliberate or not, and maybe I'm just reading too much into things because Lucha always does that to me. But what a great fucking touch. Like, you don't care about Drago because he is the slave of the tribe. They have him collared, everything else. Nobody cares about a slave, right? But then when the queen is in danger, that's when everybody, like, bustles into action. I love that. It's like, yeah, Drago, your welfare really doesn't mean anything to us. Cobra Moon is the focus. And, and that's the thing. Like, I know she hasn't gotten any cinematics or anything in a while, which is a shame because I love her cinematic performances, her acting, to say it more simply. But, like, yeah, even little touches like that just reminds you that she has the power. She's making the plays. And, yeah, just everything works. I love this tribe, and I enjoyed this match. Drago gets a medallion. He advances. I've got nothing more to say about it. Unless you do, we can move on.
I have nothing to add as well. Let's move on. Up next, we had, I want to say, our second match of the night, right? Do we have anything in between those? We got the big announcement. Cueto in the ring announces for next week, El Dragon Azteca Jr. versus Pentagon Dark for a medallion. Johnny Mundo, Taya, PJ Black, and Ricky Mandel versus Prince Puma and 3 teammates of his choosing in an Atomicos match. And Rey Mysterio versus Matanza next week. And he calls out Rey and demands that he leaves and threatens to fire Azteca if he doesn't.
Yeah, so, I mean, Cueto putting all this pressure on Rey. Not really much to say about Lucha Underground talking segments, which I actually mean that as a compliment because unlike a Raw where they can drone on for 15 minutes, I think you have a lot more to pick apart. I noticed that with like in-ring talking segments, Lucha Underground tends to be very brisk. And even if they're not necessarily brisk, like you know it's going to be intermingled with action. Like for example, Johnny Mundo and Ray, like their final confrontation before, or no, not their final confrontation because that was the big brawl, but the confrontation before that where I feel like they talked very little, and then the rest was like the antagonizing of Dominic and all that stuff. So yeah, I always appreciate that about Lucha Underground. So I'll just simply say Ray did his role well as the babyface, saying, when I get through with Matanza next week, I'm coming after you. Dario is just a great scumbag heel as always. It's nice to know that I can grow up because I grew up on the tail end of Vince McMahon being a heel, 02 until however long, and I did enjoy it. But it's nice that I get to experience that feeling all over again, and I love it so much more because the Lucha Underground universe is so different from WWE's offerings, and Cueto's just such a different villain. It's just a sight to behold. And yeah, I love that he used El Dragon Azteca Jr. as kind of like this. You wouldn't accept it when I said leave the first time, so this is the stick. I'm going to hurt him to get to you. Just great work from everybody. And yeah, just a very simple talking segment, and I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love the hype that we got out of this because just the matches alone that were announced for next week, it's like, wow.
Exactly. Yeah, next week is stacked. Like, and I loved, and I feel like I've said this in seasons past, but it bears repeating. Like, you figure, what is it actually now? Like 2 weeks until the beginning of Ultimate Lucha Trace, or three? It's two, right?
Three. It's three. Yeah, well, no, it's three because this was episode 34. Then next week is 35, then 36, then 37 is part one of Ultimate Lucha Trace.
Okay. Okay. Well, either way, though, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it doesn't change the fact that you're that close to a big event. And I feel like WWE, I don't want to necessarily take an unfair pot shot and say they'd rest on their laurels, but I do feel like they've done that sometimes before a big show. But Lucha Underground, though, is ramping it up. They're like, oh no, we're still throwing everything at you. We got, Aztec medallion matches, we got grudge matches, we got everything. And that's not even the penultimate episode before Ultimate Lucha Trace. Like, I love it. I love that they don't let up on the gas for a minute. But yeah, that's all I've got to say about this talking segment. Unless there's anything you want to add, then we get into the second match, and you've got the reins on all of that. I'm going to add very little because you were clearly very enthused by this match, so I want to hear all of your thoughts.
Well, dude, were you not? Were you not into this match? Was it just me?
I was into this match, but I think you were into this more than I was, so I want you to take the reins to start.
Oh my god, I loved everything about this match. I loved the setup. Like, first of all, when you have a 5-0 street fight, I'm sitting here thinking, I was one of the people that you were describing when we were talking about, like, oh, well, they have all these different names for street fights, but they're all in essence just a street fight. It's like they're not really changing anything about them. Lucha Underground took that and shoved it right up everyone's asses and said, no, this is different. We're calling it a 5-0 street fight, and we're going to make it a 5-0 street fight. And they had police officers and security out around the ring with riot shields in gear. They had a bunch of barricades set up that said police line do not cross. They had the freaking police vehicle, or I don't know if there's more than one, but I know there was at least one set up blocking the way. Like, the whole goal was to prevent Castro and Ryan from escaping and going anywhere. And it freaking worked beautifully. It was amazing. And the whole setup was so cool. And then the match itself, even though it wasn't like a technical wrestling masterpiece, it was just superbly entertaining. It was so much fun. I haven't laughed this hard just enjoying a segment on Lucha Underground since the death of Mr. Cisco.
Yeah, dude, this was just something else. This match, if I could sum it up in a word, it was an experience. It really was. Like, I love how invested Lucha Underground was in the idea of this 5-0 street fight because, I mean, yeah, even a promotion that didn't want to completely shoehorn it in at best might do like a nightstick here or handcuffs there. No, Lucha Underground turned this whole thing into kind of like a theater because you have the riot police and the police car and the coffee set up with the donuts. Like, literally, if you were thinking of a police brawl, in a wrestling context, I don't know anything else that Lucha Underground could have done that they, didn't already do in this match. Like, I feel like they checked every box with this. They gave you everything you could possibly want. They had great visual gags, great visual spots with the coffee down Joey Ryan's, tights, and then the taser to the wet balls, which was a great point you pointed out.
Do you remember a couple of years ago when we had in WWE, it was like a Christmas street fight, and it was like, I want to say it was like Mark Henry as the good Santa versus Damian Sandow as the bad Santa?
Yeah.
This is like an even more amazing, better version of that, because like that was like the same type of quality entertainment. I loved that match, but this is that plus way more effort put into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
like this was that with the volume turned up from like 8 to 11. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I love this, man. This was so good. I think this, because to me too, like, we've also got to realize that like these guys are both solid workers, but it's not. This might be the best match that I've ever seen either of them in at the same time. Like, it's one of those situations where they're both solid, but I never really thought of either one of them as like the match of the year type. And to me, this is a legitimate match of the year candidate. And people are going to shit on me for that and be like, oh, that's just you being a Lucha Underground bias homer or whatever you want to call it. And that might be true, but I also love New Japan and I love New Japan matches. But there comes a point in time when Lucha Underground matches all start to kind of feel the same because they are really similar to each other. And only certain ones stand out, like the Omega Okada 60-minute draw stands out. The Suzuki Okada 30-minute draw stands out. But then after that, there's just like a big mash of great matches that don't stand out at all. And this stands out so much to me. I absolutely love this. This was so much fun. And like you said, like all the different moments in this match that were just hilarious and amazing. Like, Joey Ryan trying to escape and the police blocking him, and then him grabbing one of the riot shields and setting him up, and of course the donut spot and the hot coffee down the pants spot, and then the taser on the balls, and I just loved so much about this match. I can't praise it enough, really.
I mean, it was a very inspired match and inspired performances from Joey Ryan and Cortez Castro, which, by the way, and I'm not looking to open up a can of worms here because we'll never get out of here, but, you think about Joey Ryan, who in these neck of the woods, at least in the neck of the woods that I've explored, let me qualify that, Joey Ryan, it's like, oh, the guy's a joke, like the penis spot is stupid, this and that. But Joey Ryan showed everybody, hey, I'm a quality worker too. And I always had that opinion of him, by the way, because I loved his work with Candice LeRae as part of his world's cutest tag team in PWG. But I think for Cortez Castro as well, here's the thing. I never thought of Castro as a bad worker, but like I would see him tweet about the business and like how hard he works and this and that. And I'm like, I wonder when he's going to have like his kind of breakout match. And for me, this was it. Like, this was the match that I think showed everybody how great Castro is, because he was the babyface here. He got busted open. He was the victim, which, I mean, if you're watching at home like we are, because they make that distinction between the cinematics and the in-ring product, he was the victim of, having a corrupt partner and being ratted on, and now he's in Cueto's, crosshairs. And, to really see that and to see him, like, fight, and I think he conveyed the hatred he has for Joey Ryan so well, because when he tased him stuff, he would get all fired up and he'd be like, yeah, and he would just escalate and escalate and escalate. Love the spots, love the story, and you know what's great, I do mean this as a compliment, like, I feel like this match didn't even need an Aztec medallion involved, but it was just the cherry on top of the proverbial sundae. So Castro's going to Gift of the Gods, and a great outing too. Like, it's this kind of outing that makes me think, if Chavo could be a Gift of the Gods champion, even though that was very unique circumstances, I could maybe one day see a guy like Castro being one as well, even if he ended up losing it like a week or two later. Like, I hope we see more from Castro. I really do. This is a great performance from him.
Yeah, definitely. This was great. I mean, there's so much praise to give this match, but I do feel like we hit on all the major points. So if you're ready to move on, I think I am as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's
move on. Well, up next, we had our third and final match of the night. We had the Rabbit Tribe versus Matanza. And this was fun because the Rabbit Tribe did some really fun stuff in here. Like, we had, they tried to do their, like, spinny dance around the Aztec seal with Matanza, and it failed, and he ended up slamming two of them together. But then there was the moment where, Mala Suerte likes to do his running drop kick. and he did that. But then the follow up to that was all three members just throwing drop kick after drop kick after drop kick after drop kick. I think I counted like 13 drop kicks thrown in that sequence. It was hilarious. But then like another really, I just actually kind of realized that the 5-0 street fight, that was for a medallion, wasn't it?
Yeah, I just said 5-0 street fight. I even said like it was for
no, I'm not saying that because we haven't mentioned it. I'm saying it because I realized Mala Suerte from the Rabbit Tribe is also going to be in Gift of the Gods, and he used to be Mr. Cisco.
Yeah, that is a great
point.
So
Cortez Castro and Mr. Cisco are both going to be in the Gift of the Gods.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy to think about.
That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, that's insane. Is
like
what
a
that
little
is.
mini crew reunion.
Yeah, I like that. That's really cool.
Yeah. So anyway, the Rabbit Tribe did some cool stuff, but then obviously Matanza ended up coming out on top. He hit a Wrath of the Gods on Saltador and picked up the win.
Yeah. I mean, I think you ran it down perfectly. Not really much to say, but the one thing I want to highlight, which I know we did extensively in live reactions, this was the first time we saw Matanza in an in-ring context since January, and man, did he immediately remind us all how great he is. Like, that drop kick he did to the Rabbit Tribe after he tossed Paul London into the arms of Mala Suerte and Saltador was just perfection. Here's the thing. I'm really starting to develop a taste, I think, for these guys that look like bigger, and I'm not saying like Matanza's big in the sense of like Strowman big, but these guys with certain builds, right, that you think shouldn't be able to throw drop kicks or do shooting star presses. The athleticism.
Yeah, like the brick wall build.
Thank you. I'm going to start using that from now on, because brick wall build, I'm going to start using that to describe a multitude of body types that share certain commonalities. And like you guys know, if you are listeners to the podcast, which I think we've got a lot of avid listeners here, and we appreciate it, that I adore Braun Strowman. But like, man, Matanza, what I love about him, which again, you can't do in WWE, and this is to me what makes Lucha Underground a superior product, not only is Matanza a freak like Braun Strowman, but he has a narrative depth that Braun just is incapable of possessing. And it's not because of him. It's because of just the constrictions of who he works for and how they write. But I think when you've got great writers and you've pretty much got a sandbox universe where it's like, oh, we can do whatever we want, because when you have time travelers and dragons, nothing's off the table, right? So, they're able to do that with Matanza, and it's such a great character. And he pulls it off so well. Like, yeah, I really, this match just reminded me how much I miss seeing Matanza compete. And we're going to get to see him again next week against Rey Mysterio, which is probably going to be even better than this was. And if they keep up on this trajectory, I know Lucha Underground will be leaving like in October, because that should be when Ultimate Lucha Trace rounds out. But I don't give a fuck. I'll still probably put Matanza on my 5 given these last few performances we're going to get out of him. Because like he is so good.
Yeah, dude, the crazy thing is, like, I feel like Matanza versus Rey Mysterio should be an Ultima Lucha Trace match. Like, that's crazy to me that those guys are facing off next week before Ultima Lucha. I thought for sure that would make the Ultima Lucha card. That's crazy.
I mean, I agree with you, but if anything, like, that just stokes the fires of intrigue, right? Of, well, if they're doing that next week, what the hell are they going to do?
Ultima Lucha going to be, yeah.
Yeah, like, I love this show, dude. I know we say that virtually every episode, either you, me, or both of us, but, like, I'm going to keep saying it, goddammit, because this show makes me happy. Like, it really makes me happy. This is great. But, I guess I got nothing else to say, so we can get to the final segment of the night, Puma's Talking segment, and I'm going to give you the reins on this one, partner.
Okay, all right. Well, Puma comes out, and he's ready to announce his team. That's going to be... he's going to get 3 partners to take on the team of Johnny, Taya, PJ, and Ricky Mandel. And as he's about to announce his team, Johnny Mundo shows up and interrupts him and says that nobody cares who your partners are. And just like in episode 1, I'm going to take you to Slamtown in episode 100. And Puma says that he knows he can beat Mundo And Mundo refutes with, I'm putting my title on the line. Maybe you should put your mask on the line. And Puma seems perfectly fine with it, but Cueto comes out and he's like, listen, we already have a mask on the line at Ultima Lucha. I don't want people to think that Dario Cueto is running out of original ideas. So he asks Puma, what is it that you value as much as Johnny Mundo values the Lucha Underground Championship? And he comes up with the answer, how about your career?
Yeah, I mean, that's it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Puma, and then Puma does like a big running pump knee to Johnny and knocks him out of the ring and then poses with the title, but then he puts the title and Johnny grabs it and he walks away and he says, you're on. So we're getting it, man. Title versus career. Johnny Mundo versus Prince Puma at Ultima Lucha.
Yeah, dude, that's going to be freaking insane to me. I love that they just keep upping the, because you and I, obviously, we even call ourselves like the Lucha Underground channel of YouTube because we are. So we've been loving this shit since episode 1. And this rivalry began on episode 1. And you know that these guys are my fight forever pairing. So Lucha Underground didn't even need to do this for me personally. And I'm guessing they didn't need to do this for you either, because we love when these guys work together. Like, I know that the 5-0 street fight is going to be one of your matches of the year, and I love that. I'm hoping that I can call this match one of my matches of the year, because I have such high expectations for this, you don't even know. Like, I love every time these two get in the ring together, and knowing that they've got this kind of story going for it, like, what are these two going to bring against each other at Ultima Lucha Trace? Like, my mind is just racing fucking thinking about it. And now knowing that it's title versus career, I mean, what a great, I don't necessarily want to call it an end to the rivalry, though we might as well, right? Because we know how Puma, a.k.a. Ricochet, like really feels and that whole thing. But if this is the end, what a way to go out. Like, what a final chapter to this rivalry. And it's funny because a lot of rivalries, they never feel definitively closed. I think this is more of a rare case. And yet I'm not even mad. Sad, yes, but I'm not even mad, because if they're giving us this, like, that's one of the biggest wrestling main events. Like, I feel like a kid talking about it. And that's the best feeling you can have, because I'll give WWE credit. I'm stoked as fuck for Braun Strowman versus Brock Lesnar at No Mercy. But I think this beats it by quite a bit, because Johnny Mundo is my guy. I don't think he's ever worked better with anybody. And keep in mind, I've been following his career for 9 years, close to 10 at this point, if not over 10 at this point. I don't think he's ever worked better with anybody than Prince Puma. So I'm sorry for talking on and on. I just really wanted to let everybody know how hyped as fuck I am for this match, because, yeah, this is going to be amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. This is going to be such a great episode. Next week, the thing is, there's only a 1 week bridge then between this huge, massive 100th episode show next week and Ultima Lucha Trace. So I'm so curious to see what we're going to get on episode 101, because then episodes 102 through 105, that's Ultima Lucha Trace. And then I believe 105 is a 2-hour special. So, like, we are just coming up on this gigantic, the biggest finale, I think, in the history of Lucha Underground. And I feel like that finale almost started tonight, because tonight it felt like we went from like 2nd to 4th gear, you know?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, we are off to the freaking races, man. Like, this is amazing. And again, this was like a rare gem in the sense that not a single cinematic in sight. And I ain't even mad, because this episode showed me that Lucha Underground, they know what its priorities are. The priority is Ultima Lucha Trace. And dude, with the way it's coming together narratively and the way it's looking on paper, I know that this is only the 3rd one, but this may very well be the best Ultima Lucha ever. Like,
Yeah.
it sounded like it from so many of the talents. I can't wait for our Ultima Lucha Trace live reactions and then subsequent review, because, yeah, that's going to be incredible.
For sure. Yeah. So, I mean, hey, guys, I don't really have that much else to say. Are you ready to move on to our next segment, John?
Yeah, let's get on to our next segment, partner. High spots and low shots. I'm just going to say my low shot is the Mac, because we were even having an extended discussion about how he's definitely cooled off recently, and that continued tonight. Failed to get an Aztec medallion. So it's been a tough time for the Mac, but I'm confident he'll bounce back eventually. So he's my low shot, though.
Yeah, I'm sure it breaks your heart to say that with all the history he has with Mundo.
Yeah, I mean, like I've made it a point to say recently, like it's always going to be Mundo. It could be Mundo against like fucking Seth Rollins, and it's always going to be Mundo. That's what I tell everybody. But outside of that, Mac is really a treasure. Like I love
Yeah.
watching him work. And yeah, I mean, I do revel in everyone's suffering, so I am going to point and laugh at him later. But you know, he'll bounce back.
You're horrible, but I love you anyway. So let's get out of here.
Nice.
My low shot. I mean, obviously I can't take the Mac now since you did. So I guess I'm just gonna have to make my low shot Joey Ryan. And really, I kind of feel like I might have the better low shot tonight because your guy lost an opportunity at an Aztec medallion. My guy lost an opportunity at an Aztec medallion and future children potential.
Yeah, that's rough. That's rough. Yeah, I'm not even going to debate it. You've conceded to me plenty of times when I have the better low shot. I concede to you. That is the low shot tonight because his balls.
Yeah, I mean, it's the low shot because of the low blow, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know what? I'm gonna be a bit different with my eyes, but I'm gonna pull a you because you always have like that ingenuity of, oh, well, you know, picking somebody that actually competed tonight, that's for normies. I'm gonna do this. So my high spot is Dario Cueto because
oh yeah, I love it. Yes.
because my God, like the man really does look untouchable. And see, that's what I love about Cueto, which I don't even know if you could say that about Vince, like at his best, because I feel like with Vince, like, yeah, he did dastardly things and yeah, he did get his comeuppance. But what I love about Cueto is, like, and especially in the context of this universe, he does heinous shit. He revels in it. He pits people against each other again and loves it. And you know he's going to get a comeuppance, but they build it up so well because he is a guy that, yeah, he's got power, but it's power relative only to a certain context. Like, yeah, he has power in the sense that he runs an underground fighting ring, but now he's got these gods and like all these people breathing down his neck, and yet I'm confident he'll still find a way to survive. I love that. Like Dario, in a word, is a cockroach, and I love that. And tonight he gets to run his show. He gets to revel in the fact, yeah, we're 100 episodes in next week. 100 times 100. Lucha Underground never ends, ever, ever. And like all these great matches. And then he calls out Ray simply for the power play to send him away. And oh, if you don't comply, Ray, I'm not going to hurt you, at least not directly. I'm going to attack you emotionally by taking it out on your protege, and then you're going to have to answer to him. Like, he's such a dick. And then, after all that, gets to see Matanza destroy an entire tribe, really, in the Rabbit tribe. And then takes the power bag when Johnny Mundo's getting a little big for his bridges. Says, no, Johnny, because it's all about him, right? I can't have people think that Dario Cueto's repetitive, so I'm going to make Puma put his career on the line. This guy loves throwing his weight around. That gives him almost as much of a heart on as violence itself, and he looks unfreaking touchable to me, so he's my high spot.
All right. Well, I mean, that's a great high spot. I love that. Like the idea that Cueto got so much of his way tonight is just brilliant. Yeah. So I guess I'm just gonna have to settle for my high spot being Drago because he picked up the big win. He got the Aztec medallion, and he's gonna be in there by himself as far as like all of his friends go because I don't think Aerostar or Phoenix is gonna get in. So it's just going to be Drago. There aren't going to be any other members of the Snake Tribe in there either. So yeah, it's just going to be Drago in there. I mean, he's going to have to eat some rabbits first, which I think dragons do naturally anyway, so that shouldn't be a problem. But then he's going to have to get through Cortez Castro, but he's never really had a problem going through those guys before anyway. So I think Drago, right now, until next week when either El Dragon Azteca Jr. or Pentagon gets in a medallion, right now it looks like Drago is the odds-on favorite to win Gift of the Gods.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with you. I definitely appreciate that pick for a high spot. That said, partner, is there anything else you want to say about Lucha Underground tonight?
You know, I don't think I want to add anything else. I feel like we've had a lot of great stuff to say, and I don't want to taint it by adding too much. So let's keep it nice and efficient and elegant and close it on out here, brother.
All right, then. With that said, guys, this has been Lucha Underground. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my co-ordinate commentary action. Guys, be sure to comment, subscribe, and like the video. The more likes you leave, the more likely we are to be the top search result for Lucha Underground reviews on YouTube. And when you're the best at what you do, the top is the only place that you belong. So please leave that like. Also, for all of you Lucha Underground viewers, whether new or old, we've got every Lucha Underground playlist imaginable here. Lucha Underground Season 3 playlist, and of course my personal favorite, the All Lucha Underground Content Ever playlist, where you can find everything that we've done from Season 1 to now. So again, if you're new to this, you can get acquainted very quickly. All our content's there, and if you want to revisit some gems, it's there too. So check all that out. Just to go through the quick plugs here, guys, our Teespring store. We have 2 great shirts. I'm not finished with you! From Braun Strowman. Love that shirt. Be sure to pick that up if you want to tell anybody or anything that you're not finished with it. Definitely think it's a shirt that bolsters the confidence. You know what I'm saying? And for every member, every soldier of the Evolution, we have got a shirt for you because my co-ordinate commentary stepped up when WWE just stepped aside and just said, nah, we're not really into that. He created merch for Emma because she does not have one line of clothing on WWE Shop. Action took it upon himself to make her a little something. The real face of the Women's Revolution. I think it's the best shirt he's ever done. And really, I think you still have time to get it if I'm not mistaken. So please pick up that shirt.
It's just perpetually on sale. You guys don't have to worry about any kind of like time limit or time extension.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm glad you clarified because I checked on the shirt earlier and I did see a timer. But yeah, that's right. You did change it so that everything's just perpetually on sale. So yeah, guys, get that Emma t-shirt. I think it's fantastic. Honestly, that is the kind of shirt that she deserves on WWE Shop and that I'd expect them to make for her. But they haven't because they're dipshits and my co-ordinate commentary is not. So get the Evolution shirt, the real face of the Women's Revolution. And just in case neither of those things interest you, our Teespring has a great array of offerings from coffee cups to Scum Squad stickers. So just peruse our store, see what you like. We greatly appreciate it. The Patreon. One thing I definitely want to plug above all else, the Discord. $3 a month for access. Guys, the conversations that go on in the Discord, I mean, you know, we talked about Raw this past Monday, you know, Strowman exploding a cage wall with Big Show's body. We talk No Mercy. I know there's a tab for Game of Thrones spoilers. I know there's general talk about music and games. So really, if you ever think to yourself, man, I'd love to ask John or Ashton or talk to John and Ashton about insert topic here, you can now for only $3 a month. And the best part is, if you're thinking, you know, that does seem like a pretty sweet deal, but is there any way we can make it even sweeter? You bet your sweet ass it is, because if you stay in the Discord for 10 months at $3 a month, that accrues to $30 a month, which you can then cash in for a live reaction to a 3-hour show. I call the deal a win-win-win every time I plug it because that's exactly what it is, guys. Get in on it if you haven't already. It's great. That aside, guys, just to give you a rundown for content for the rest of this week, do we even have anything for the rest of this week? Because I know we're not covering NXT tonight. I know we've got
nothing else this week, but next Monday afternoon, I think we're going to be doing a requested reaction review combo.
Okay, well then, guys, you can just sit tight, and we'll be back with you on Monday afternoon for a Patreon request.
I'm going to have to talk to the person that requested the video to see if Monday afternoon would be a good time for them, but if it is, let's just count on that being the day, and if not, we'll let everyone know beforehand on Twitter and on Discord and that kind of stuff.
Excellent. Sounds great to me, guys. Then you know when to be here.
But remember, though, if you want to know if Monday's happening or not, you should be following us on Twitter. And obviously, it would be even better if you were in the Discord, because that, you know, that's, you know, you get emailed when we tag you on that. So
exactly. I mean, guys, if you want to keep your finger on the pulse, you know, we go far beyond your typical newsletter. Follow us on Twitter. Get in the Discord. You know our media. It's all in the description box, guys. Get in on that. And until then, like I said, sit tight. We'll see you guys again, potentially Monday afternoon. I really want to emphasize that. Oh, and of course, my last plug. I almost forgot to do it. Q&A. It's on the 28th this month. We do it the last Thursday of every month. You guys already know the deal. 4 questions per Q&A. You know the mediums with which to submit questions: YouTube, Facebook, Discord, Twitter. Get your questions in. You can ask both of us or just one of us individually if the question's more specific to our personalities. Questions could be anything you want unless we say otherwise. So that's Q&A. You got till the 28th, 22 days left. No excuses why you can't get your questions in. So with that said, guys, we'll see you again potentially Monday. Until then, tune in and peace out.